Breaching. You know what breaching is?
Uh, that is clearing the surface of the water.
Yeah, so that's clearing the surface of water, and usually they'll come down with a big like splash. What about porpoising?
Oh, that's when you're like bouncing up and down when you land your airplane and you don't have it at the right attitude, so you bounce back and forth from your front and your back wheels.
Um, um,
I'm technically
I
correct.
mean, you're not wrong.
How about you give me the real answer?
How about I put a marker? Oh my gosh. Hello. And whilst I was thinking of what to say when I entranced, I realized I kind of need to fix a social media thing eventually because it's funny. It's just funny at the start. Right. Hi, and welcome to the Whale Talk podcast, the podcast that, on occasion, has to tell Icelandic orcas and pilot whales to just stop fighting or we will turn this ocean around. I'm Cavone. Join me, as ever, is a man who lives in a place where having lots of waterways and coastlines just is not enough. They have to have them underground too. Steer if it's for.
Thanks for having me. We're back again, another month, another episode of Whale Talk.
I could also say a man who lives in a place where there's more species of crocodilians than people, but that would just be incorrect. Almost,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. I mean, you have to go up like Louisiana, that area where you start talking about there being more gators than people.
Oh, yeah. So we've got some whale facts for you. First of all, and we've also it honestly, I think today's going to be a bit of a short one, and actually, there's a little bit of a reason why it might be a little bit shorter. I am still a little bit unwell. You might notice the podcast is late this month. I mean, there might be a month in the coming year where it's also incredibly late.
Hmm.
Still discussing, trying to work out how do we get around that. It's a
Yep.
logistical issue that doesn't really have a solution. But this month, it's just basically I had it wasn't even the flu, it was something worse last week, and I'm still coughing. So you may see me mute. You may hear me just abruptly stop. You may even see me put this little guy up. I mean, you will see this little guy go up um in Orca Watch. This is a shorker shark orca. Yeah. Geo, one
Yeah.
question for you.
Alrighty.
What makes this orca avatar not actually an orca, but a part shark?
Um, the direction of its tail fins.
Vertical.
Yeah, vertical rather than horizontal movement.
There's also the gills. Oh, well,
Oh yeah,
Zarth
the
literally said
gills
the
as well.
gills as well.
Yeah, I didn't notice the gills. They kind of disappear a little bit when you're quiet.
Yeah. Okay. So, who's ready for some whale facts?
I am.
Did you know there were no whales on board the Titanic at the time of its sinking?
Probably a good thing. But I do sometimes wonder how many whales were witness to the whole events of that night.
I wonder what that would be the equivalent to. if we don't like to portray human stuff onto whales, but if we did, what would the Titanic be?
Mm.
Uh, I guess it wouldn't be a firework display.
Feel like kicking over well,
Be
is it
like,
kinda like kicking over a ant's nest? You know, all the people came out and scattered about.
actually, what about whalebone corsets?
Ooh, Zarf does have a good point. I mean, so there may or may not have been pieces of whale on the Titanic, but
I
not a
mean,
whole
not
living whale.
not a whole complete whale. Okay, I think we need to move on to another whale fact.
Yeah.
So, an Amazon river dolphin, despite having poor vision, could probably navigate the Amazon River better than you.
100%. I'd get
Also,
so turned around.
also on my sheet here, I've literally called it the Amazing River.
Yep, I saw that.
You're wondering if I was going to say that.
Mhm. I was watching.
Now, despite how adept beluga engineers are, they did not invent the Airbus A300-600 ST Beluga.
It's true, and do
This
you
was
know why?
shocking when I found this out.
Yeah, I know. And you know why Airbus built the Beluga, right?
It's to transport. Was it two belugas?
No, unfortunately not. It was well, I mean, I think they probably have done some animal transports, but the purpose of it was to transport, like, whole wings and, like, big
Oh
fuselage
yeah,
pieces.
parts of other
Um,
planes.
yeah, and also a big reason for it was because prior to that, they used the Boeing Super Guppy, and
The
so
super
Boeing was
guppy. Oh my gosh, that's a
Yep.
name.
So, yeah. So I think that's also part of why Airbus called it the Beluga because there was the Guppy and the Super Guppy. But before the Airbus made the Beluga, they used a Super Guppy for that role, so Boeing could make the joke that every Airbus. Well, it really wasn't every Airbus, but every Airbus was delivered on the wings of a Boeing. So
I
that really drove Airbus to make the Beluga.
I think there is somewhere in the world a beluga, the Airbus beluga that is
Mhm,
actually like colored and painted in the shape of a beluga. Well, in the colors of a beluga.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, I've
Um,
always seen them as being white,
I
just being painted white.
I believe I've read some. I is it little gray and little white that
It
were
might be.
transported via a
Oh,
beluga?
it's very possible.
I think I read that. So don't quote me on this, but I think I read that. Um, okay, shall we get into the news? Which honestly, this month was pretty. It was actually a little bit more positive than. Well, I mean, anything was more positive than last month. Oh my gosh. Also, next month. So we're already almost halfway through the month. Um, I'm in full panic stations over next month because oh my god, we've got a lot of news that came out. Heck, today we do I just straight up cover that impromptu here? Today we
Go for it.
got but no, I have to I have to read the article. We got footage of northern residents and Pacific white-sided dolphins hunting together, and that literally came out today. I'm like, uh,
That'll be a fun one next month.
oh, next month is going to be jam packed. Next month's going to be kind of quite long. Even though we're unfortunately cutting. a segment from the YouTube part. I mean, we're not going to be cutting it from the Twitch or the Spotify bit. Anyway, when we get to that bit, I've already explained in the pre-record. Um, Next month might actually be quite long because we're kind of doing something a little bit extra in that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it might be a long beginning of the year episode.
oh yeah, and like our first thing for next month was like just straight up lesser known cetacean species, which just completely transitioned into so many things all at once. It's like
Mhm.
this is synergy. The, okay, so um, speaking of good news about critically endangered species, actually we weren't talking about that, were we? So our first news article of five today, actually, is that a recent study coupled with the sighting of a calf sparks hope for the critically endangered Vaquita species. Now, the Vaquita is a very small type of porpoise. It's the smallest porpoise species that lives off Baja California in Mexico, and in a very small zone. So they actually conducted a survey in the area for specifically for this species, get like a census of the size of the population. Uh, I think they cited something like 11 of them. Uh,
Mhm.
so this survey also used an interesting invention that I saw on a video, um, which was a massive pair of binoculars called Big Eyes. But they also used underwater detection, which, in other words, is like hydrophones, and I'm not sure if they use sonar. Uh, but seeing calves and actually like a population is a little bit higher in terms of population than it was thought. So it's not really gone down. Like this is promising. I mean, it was thought they only had 10 individuals that like before the survey. So this survey was done between May and September of this year.
Pretty good news.
Yeah, there's a lot of critically endangered species as I'm finding out. Like the more I research for this,
Mhm.
but Vaquita is like top of that list at the moment. Um, to see a calf is really good. Now, I could give you more information on the Vaquita, but we have actually covered this in one of the previous episodes of the podcast. Um, I don't think it was last month. I think it was the month before,
Could be
October.
right.
Yeah. So we did cover the Vaquita and all the threats that are facing the Vaquita. This is really good news. Um, and then so our second news article is that a recent paper had hit the news, suggesting that the West Coast transient or big population of orcas on the Northwest Pacific region, which I've always found that weird because it's actually the Northeast Pacific Ocean.
Mhm.
Is
But it's on the Northwest US coast.
Yeah. Um, so these are actually two different separate populations, and this is kind of news to me, which is kind of wild because this was an idea that was put out over 10 years ago. So this paper that released in November was from McInnes et al. And I believe this was a new discovery. Uh, what is that it's the first time that this discovery was done in the US. Uh, Previously, 10 years ago, it was done in Canada by Ford et al. So to explain what this differentiation is, so this is not like north and southern residents because those are like quite clearly like north to south. It's a much easier geographical line to draw. Although the northern residents are actually coming a little bit further south as of late, and I actually heard on a podcast just yesterday. Potentially, a reason for this is because the southern residents are no longer in the Salish Sea so much that what little salmon there is there, the small little matriline groups of the northern residents have seen. Well, there's some fish here. There's enough for like five of us, and no one's taking it. We might as well just take it ourselves. So,
Mhm.
but with the transients, so it's split into outer coast and inner coast. So the inner coast transients are referred to in inner coast as being along the inner coast of the Vancouver Islands and inside the waterways of British Columbia, and are typically found predating on pinniped and small cetaceans within 6 kilometers of the shore. And the outer coasts are typically towards the west side of Vancouver Island and typically hum from 6 to 120 kilometers off coast. I don't know who's going out to see them 120 kilometers off the coast, honestly, but
Hey,
apparently someone is.
hey, if you got a fast enough boat, you can do it.
I feel like this is like incidental reports of like they're already out there and they spot these orcas.
Yeah, like fishermen
Fishermen, yeah, fishermen or navy vessels or
and
anything like
Coast
that.
Guard. Yeah.
Um, but the interesting thing is that 6 kilometers means that they can actually be in the Strait of Juan de Fuca, which is the strait of water between San Juan Islands and Victoria, British Columbia.
Mhm.
Which I believe that strait is something like 30 kilometers or something like that.
Mhm.
You can see in the distance with the naked eye. Though. So
Then it would be less than 30 kilometers.
you
Actually, I don't know. Let me
sure?
so as I remember it, it's 11 nautical miles is roughly the distance, which in kilometers, about 20 kilometers. How far can you see the horizon on the sea in kilometers?
See, we're doing our
Come
research
on,
mid
Google.
podcast.
Yep. Uh,
Google can
actually,
never fail us.
so if you were standing, you can see the horizon about 5 kilometers away.
Wait.
If you were,
Okay, so from France, you can't see the United Kingdom. Then
well, but that's standing at sea level. So like that would be literally like you're standing on a raft,
yeah.
in the water. If you're 33 feet, then if you're, or sorry, if you're 10 meters or 33 feet above sea level, then you can see about 11 kilometers. And if you're 100 meters or 330 feet, you could see about 36 kilometers, which is about 22 miles.
Okay, so it's probably not as far as I thought.
Also,
Um,
just depends on how high above sea level you were standing, and
oh,
also
I
how
was on a
high
boat.
above. Yeah, and also how high above sea level um, the object is. Because like when I go
There's
fishing
mountains.
and yeah, so you probably see it from a lot further away, yeah. But like, because like when I go fishing, we go out into the Gulf, the last thing that disappears is the Skyway Bridge.
How tall is that then?
Um,
You see, we do leave some of the research budget for during the podcast.
yeah, it's 430 feet, which is 131 meters.
That's
A big bridge? Yeah.
that's a tall bridge, but I think I've been on one that's taller in France.
Yeah, so that stretches across the mouth of Tampa Bay. And you do have a port, inside, so you have to so it has to be big enough for, big
Yeah, the big ships.
yeah, and plus there's a cruise terminal as well, so
Okay.
it's a plenty big bridge. It already fell down once. This is the replacement bridge.
All right, and let me guess, someone boated into it.
Yeah,
What
a cargo
surprise.
vessel. Yeah, it was a very unfortunate event because if I remember right, it also happened like during morning rush hour traffic.
Ooh, that's not good.
Hmm.
So, okay, so back to the outer coast transients.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so so they typically hunt from like further out or off the coast, and their prey choice is quite a bit larger than inner coast transients. Now, the outer coast transients are not well known, but the inner coast transients are very well known. Uh, not so much by like professional researchers, but there's a lot of citizen science on the inner coast transients. During the McInnes study, they actually mapped out a social network between groups of photo ID'd transients. By the way, when I say transients, I do mean bigs. These are all big orcas, all that ecotype. The two populations are the same ecotype, as far as we know. And this social network that they mapped out was finding a clear but not completely absolute divide between those determined as outer coast and inner coast transients. And the study was on the social associations and habitat choice of the two subpopulations. Um, so basically, how far out to sea were they, and who were they interacting? Now, uh, there is very limited genetic studies on this, but what little genetic studies has suggested potential interbreeding between the inner and outer coasts. So this is why I would say that they're not two separate ecotypes, just two separate populations of the same ecotype.
Yeah, and I think you could also like infer from the genetic studies that, I mean, considering the lifespan and the gestation, period, it's not unthinkable that, that they were all, one population, but that over time, family dynamics and resource availability ended up like causing, a rift in the family more or less, and some of them went that way and some of them went that way, and then maybe have been isolated since then.
Actually, that brings me on to kind of an interesting point about Icelandic orcas. So Icelandic orcas, I learned this from like a workshop that I attended virtually during November, and it was on all different populations of orcas around the world. Um, Croziers, Antarctics, Australian. Uh, there was also Icelandic. What's the other one? There was another one forgotten about. Um, but the Icelandic ones were really interesting because in the Icelandic population, you have like family groups, so a matriline, so a mother and her immediate offspring, and then like she's got a sister, and like typically like matriarchs who are sisters will sometimes like group up together, and they'll even like group up with their mother from time to time, and so you've got these groups in the Icelandic orcas what they have found is that you might have one match line that eats specifically one type of prey, and another match line that will eat a different type of prey. So you might have one match line that's eating seals, but her sister's match line is just eating herring. So I find that kind of crazy to think about. Um, but this is like probably the most extreme example of this that I know of. So it's definitely possible that this could be the case with the West Coast transients for sure. Now I don't know how much you've seen on the next news article that we have.
I have not done really a whole lot of reading.
Okay, so the next article is something really interesting. This is a podcast first. This is the first time we're doing something like this on the podcast where we're covering an article, and it's honestly this is my first time reading a paper like this. So this is our first time actually covering an article that's detailing a species because our third news article is about the Gingko-Toothed Beaked whale. I believe there is another name for this, but this is the one that was described. Uh, Now, the news is this is new. So this is the first time that this species of cetacean has ever been spotted alive. So all we know about this species until July when this was posted, and this is the first time I've come across this. I came across this because news outlets actually did pick this up eventually, and that's how it came to my attention. Um, but yeah, this is a species that was only known about via a stranding or several strandings. I think so. This is a beaked whale. This is a beaked whale species um, that lives around Baja, California. And the only way we knew anything was due to stranding. Now, if you're wondering, how do we know stuff about species that that have stranded and passed away? Well, we can actually cover that next month. We already have that plan because that's little bit of a spoiler for the lesser known cetacean species next month is that it's one that's only been seen a very small handful of times, and most of what's known is from strandings and well, finding them dead on the beach. So this research trip was to try and identify the cause of an anomalous echolocation pulse, and I just love the idea of doing this, where you grab a boat, you got a bunch of researchers, everyone's got a different skill set. There's someone that's on acoustics, there's someone with visuals, like you got a captain, you got like imagine that. It's like going on a freaking adventure because you're looking for this elusive animal. It's like the nature documentaries that like big up someone that's like looking for this really rare animal, and it's like they always find it on the last day, or so you're led to believe. Um, Sometimes they find it on the first day, but they show it after. Gio, could you imagine going on one of these trips? I guess Gio can't imagine
Whoops.
going on.
Sorry, I muted myself.
I thought you had like left or something.
Yeah, no, I muted myself for a second.
That's fair.
And I was saying that, yeah, it would be really exciting, but like I think there's also the understanding going into something like that that there's a high chance that like nothing happens, that you don't see anything, that it's not exciting and it's just, a waste of time. But that small chance like would just make it so exciting that you like even if it's a small chance, like you gotta go, right?
See, any kind of like rare species, like if you go into a forest hoping to find something, you know there's going to be a
Mhm.
rare chance. You'd think being on the water in open water would make it easier. You've got a lot more. You've got a lot more water to cover.
Mhm.
Anything to do with whales and dolphins is very much like hit and miss. It's very much if the whale wills it.
And you really also have to think about the open ocean as being a lot like a desert. Um, there's,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
there are places that, life gathers, like, elevation changes. But it's more like having little oases that are kind of spread out. And that's why, like, when you look at, like great white shark, especially in the Pacific, and you look at their tracks and like how long they are and how far they travel, and it's because they basically kind of have to go from point to point, to point to.
It's it's honestly worse than a desert because a desert, like if you look, like if you're on a flat desert and you see out to sand, like you'll at least see stuff. But
Mhm,
on the water, like you're looking for stuff that lives under the water. You can't see
mhm,
under the water. So really the only way to really go after like trying to find one of these animals, you absolutely need a hydrophone.
mhm,
Like there is no question about going to find a species of cetacean that you've never seen before, that no one's seen before, without taking acoustic equipment. And in fact, this is detailed in this actual study where they actually made only 5 visual sightings of this beaked whale. They made 21 acoustic detections, and they also somehow managed to get a biopsy sample, which is kind of crazy to get that in 5 visual sightings.
mhm. Yeah, it must have been just hanging out on the surface and been like, "Oh, hey guys, what you doing?" "Oh, no, mm-mm."
Maybe it just had a cold, like worse than mine. Maybe it's
Mhm.
just sneezing all over the place. Maybe they use a drone to collect whale snot.
Maybe.
Oh wait, that's for later on today.
Mm,
We might come back to that particular thought train. So they actually found a heavily scarred male who had tooth protrusions that in some places some publications, I should say, some places that have reported this have actually referred to these as mini tusks. Now, in the actual paper itself, the author does speculate on male combative competition for females. Um, the females also had cookie cutter shark bite marks. Now,
mm,
um, this actually brings us on to a very interesting part of the podcast, which has kind of become a bit of like a running thing because we now have a 10-second content lock for those of you that like sharks more than whales and dolphins. Cue the yay.
Yay!
So, cookie cutter sharks are small little sharks. Almost said something else there. With round mouths full of teeth. They make very iconically recognizable scars in teeth tissue, in skin tissue. You know, this is an outtake as well. Oh my! Wow! Don't screw that up. Okay. Okay, take number two. 10-second content for those that like sharks more. Cookie cutter sharks are small little sharks with round mouths full of teeth that make very iconically recognizable scars in skin tissue. They reach roughly half a meter and are very rarely seen. That was your 10-second content. Also, Zarf just said what weirdos those that prefer sharks to whales and dolphins.
I
But
know,
that was
right?
your for whale sharks. I understand it.
Yeah, yeah. Those
Yeah,
sharks are cool.
but cookie cutter sharks, no one likes them.
So, quick little aside, when I was in middle school, our school mascot was the Sharks. So when you were put into a team, so basically a team was 4 teachers, and that was like your core academic classes. They were named after different sharks, and one year I was a whale shark.
Oh, nice. So
Hmm.
that was your a little bit more than 10-second content for those that like sharks more than whales and dolphins.
Yay!
Yay! There's is that intro?
Could be.
There might be. There might be another intro later. We want also some educational stuff to be shorts, not just the funny stuff. Um, but yeah, if I need to stop reading chat whilst I'm about to read something else. So if you want to learn about this cetacean, the Gingko-Toothed Beaked whale, uh, and that was spoiled for the first time ever, I will be linking the paper below. It's by Henderson et al. And it was released in 2025. And Gio has also linked it in chat for those of our viewers on Twitch. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening on Spotify and you want to get this live, you might even want to ask questions about some of this stuff. You can. We stream this typically the first Thursday of each month. We'll do like
Or
the live recording.
or right before the beginning of the month. Just depends on when it. We try and make it the Thursday that's the closest to the beginning of the month.
I mean, next one's on. I mean, it's penciled in for New Year's Day.
Hmm.
I mean, I mean, this one, this one was penciled in for like Monday before last, but
Yep.
that didn't happen.
Hmm. Life
That was
happens.
my fault. Well, I mean, it wasn't even live. It was just
Well, then I was also traveling for a chunk in there too. So
yeah. I don't even think I could have done like last Thursday.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing better.
Whale sharks and killer whales are nothing. Are misnomers.
Are both
S-
misnomers.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
both.
what he was
Okay,
trying to
okay.
say.
I was gonna say yeah.
Hmm.
Fun fact. I've actually started referring to orcas as whales. When there's a bunch of orcas, I just say whales. There's a saying: every dolphin is a whale, but not every whale is a dolphin.
Hmm.
This is the fact that every dolphin is a toothed whale, part of the Odontoceti group. But when we refer to dolphins, we typically mean the oceanic dolphins or the river dolphins.
Hmm.
Do people consider belugas to be whales or dolphins?
Well,
They think as well. Okay.
yeah, because at least in the U.S., like it's a beluga whale. That's I've never heard it referred to as a beluga dolphin.
What about
At least not
narwhals?
by. Uh, I would assume people think narwhals are whales.
Okay. See, because like I completely understand it for toothed whales.
Mhm.
Yeah, so when people refer to dolphins, yeah, it's typically always oceanic dolphins, so Delphinidae
Yeah,
or river
and
dolphins.
I would think very specifically, like, at least my internal vision of a dolphin is just a bottlenose dolphin.
Yeah, I think that's probably the same for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like, especially because of, different things in media and whatnot, and just even like, the proliferation of educational materials through school systems, right? That the most common depiction of a dolphin is a bottlenose dolphin, at least in the
Yeah,
US.
they're just like really big in the media.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we
So,
got another news article.
but actually, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
How many species of cetacean do we think there could be still to be discovered?
Mm,
Do you think there's a lot that are undiscovered, or I think okay, so I should mention like discovered means like we don't know they exist,
mhm.
not that we know they exist, but not that they're not the species that we think they are. So like
Yeah.
rice whales were once thought to be bride's whales
Mhm.
until they were discovered to not be bride's whale. But that's not when they were discovered. They were discovered like way back.
Yeah, the individuals were known, even
Yeah.
if the details weren't. Yeah, we're talking about and completely unobserved individuals. I and like and that see and as the world gets smaller, there becomes less and less places for, especially large creatures to survive, especially when they're not in an extreme environment like, bottom of the ocean, under ice shelves, stuff like that. Like, it is harder and harder for them to go completely undiscovered or unseen.
Probably the
Though,
best way to sorry, I interrupted you.
oh yeah,
I
it
was
was
gonna
just you go
I
ahead.
was gonna say probably the best place for them to hide is around Antarctica.
Yeah, Antarctica definitely, but also, like the Pacific Ocean, because you could think of like if you could think of a small population of like 20 or 30, um, that are just kind of swimming around on their own, out in a small area of the Pacific Ocean that is well away from shipping channels, when would they ever be seen?
Exactly.
So, but it
I
does, like, as I said, like, it does get harder and harder, as the world gets smaller and, traffic on the seas gets bigger. I guess also it's probably, Indian Ocean as well. Just thought about that because the Indian Ocean is pretty big and deep too.
there's quite a
But
bit of fishing though. I think like fishing vessels would have noticed anything.
yeah, yeah,
I I would say my estimate is like there might be two or three cetacean species that have never been spotted before.
yeah, I could see it
Um,
being I could definitely see it just being a single digit number.
and
Um,
are we both in agreement that these are all gonna be beaked whales?
Yeah,
Or but
I mean, I would assume that they would have to be a pelagic. I
i-
figure they would probably, well, I don't know
is there a
if they would
world?
necessarily be a big whale.
Is there a world where we haven't discovered a river dolphin?
That's definitely a possibility. I mean, especially when you think about the depths of the Amazon, and there's like little mountain valleys,
Yeah,
and whatnot. But at the same time, you also have to think about there's only so far upriver that you can go without having to cross a waterfall.
Yeah.
So like, unless dolphins inhabited the area during a time when, like, the ocean basically covered the entirety of or a larger portion of the Amazon basin, and then stayed up there as the water receded.
That would
But I
actually
mean
be an interesting discovery because that'd be a species that is completely geographically isolated,
mhm,
and you would see like the full extent of evolution at work, where they will be completely adapted to their environment.
mhm. I mean, I guess I could also think of, like, if you had you know, a deeper diving, like baleen whale that just stayed underwater forever and barely ever surfaced.
It would be quite difficult for baleen whales to be completely unspotted
Yeah.
because okay, what I'm about to say is could actually be slightly wrong with one particular species. But typically, baleen whales, when they surface, you will see from quite far when they take a breath,
Yeah, because they're taking a really big
except
breath.
for minke whales,
Mm,
which they're oh my gosh, they are very difficult to see. Minke whales.
mhm. Yeah, because 'cause isn't it they're just, like, on the surface for, like, a fraction of a section second?
Yeah, when I was in the San Juan Islands, like I had so I was trying to get a photo of one. I never actually got a still photo. I only got video, and even like in the intro, we've actually got for, one of my footage of a minke whale that was feeding at the surface. The only way I was gonna get any video of a minke whale was to film where I knew the fish was, because I know that's where he or she is gonna come up.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
the thing is, like, you don't see the blow. They're at the surface for about 2 or 3 seconds, and then they submerge for like 5 minutes.
Mhm.
They take one breath. You can't even just track them, and it's like it's just so difficult to see. And they have very small dorsal fins, so in the actual water, like itself, if you're looking in the water, they are harder to spot than orcas are. Like way harder.
Mhm.
So that brings us on to our next news story. And our next news story is that a study by Orca Conservancy has revealed that cetaceans that die due to plastic buildup actually die from less buildup than we originally thought, which means that it only takes roughly 29 pieces of plastic on average, which is up to a football size amount, for it to be fatal for marine mammals. This is considerably less than was previously thought, which means marine mammals are way more susceptible to plastic pollution than we originally thought.
That ain't good.
So that was a very small news article. Um, Now there is another news article that we'll get into in a second, and I'm just seeing if it's a good time to go into a side thing. Maybe not so much right now. Okay, so we're going to cover lesser known species, and our lesser known species for today is actually the Australian humpback dolphin. But we're going to talk about humpback dolphins just in general.
And also, as normal, Cravone came to me, said, "Hey, what are we doing for the lesser known species?" And I went through and I just kind of looked for something that looked interesting, and this is what we landed on.
I mean, we definitely haven't done that the next time again. Oh, we have.
But
It's you know, honestly, it's kind of good because I've realized what you're doing, like, and you've not even realized what you're doing. Um,
Mhm,
so like you're picking summer species. Right now it's winter, but it's summer in the southern hemisphere. So you're picking all the southern hemisphere stuff.
mhm. Well, and honestly, a lot of what I has been, like, criteria for me in lesser known species is I've been trying to do things that are not, um, North America or Europe centric since that's where we're both from. So I figure whales and dolphins that live a long way from us, you know, not to be too egotistical, but, the we do dominate, media, um, that it just feels like we should just go someplace way away from us.
That's a good shout. Although what you picked for next month, I'd be surprised if even anyone in the country where this lives somewhat near actually knows that this exists.
Mhm.
Like next month is so obscure. But covering humpback dolphins is kind of good because uh, a lot of people know humpback whales, but they don't know about humpback dolphins. And was same with like bottlenose whales. That is we will probably cover northern bottlenose whales at some point. But this was great to have humpback dolphins because we actually have a news article. So news article is that male humpback dolphins in Australia have been discovered wearing sea sponges as wigs to attract mates.
I kinda
S-
feel like we need that for an emote for the channel now.
Well, like a dolphin wearing a sponge
A
as a
sea
wig.
sponge. Mhm.
I mean, we have an emo of an orca wearing a salmon as a hat. I mean, what more headwear do we need? So, we're going to talk generally about the genus of humpback dolphin, but when we do go specific, we will be talking about the Australian humpback dolphin. So, there are four defined species of humpback dolphin, uh, all in the same genus. And this genus is part of Delphinidae, which are the oceanic dolphins. It's the same group that has orcas, bottlenose dolphins, strut dolphins, common dolphins. You get the picture. Um, and these are toothed whales. So these are whales. So to not to make this confusing to anyone, but I'd like to call these the Australian humpback dolphin whales. Um, because all dolphins are whales. Maybe that should be maybe that's the intro. That could be the intro. Definitely. So their range is mostly coastal regions of the Indian Ocean. Although there is one species on the west coast of Africa. So that's the only we're talking about humpback dolphins as in general. So there is one species on the west coast of Africa. And one species whose range extends to the South China Sea as well. For the Australian humpback dolphin, its range is the north coast of Australia to the south coast of the Papua Island. And for humpback dolphins, their prey is mostly, well, okay, humpback dolphins in general, their prey is mostly a large variety of fish. They're not very fuss eaters. They're more generalist, and on occasion they'll eat cephalopods. The Australian humpback dolphins, however, um, they've actually been observed hunting in shallow waters and even strand feeding by chasing prey onto mudflats. So they strand, they catch the prey that's like flopping about on the mudflat, and then they're able to like wiggle their bodies back into the ocean. But obviously, this is a risky strategy. As their name suggests, humpback dolphins have a hump or ridge on their back, and this is underneath the dorsal fin. So you see the shape of a dolphin, and then it's like this hump here. The dorsal fin's up there. So, however, Australian humpback dolphins do not actually have this ridge, which is like, how are these humpback dolphins? But they do have a small triangular dorsal fin and are all pale grey. They also do have a bottlenose. So this is the case of a species of Australian humpback dolphin whales who are kind of almost like bottlenose dolphins, but definitely not bottlenose whales. How do you like namings of cetaceans in this way?
Um, See, I think by saying dolphin whale, you're being redundant because dolphin already implies whale.
Okay, moving on to the social structure. It's just
Uh-huh.
did you oh my did you just play that over this?
Are you stupid?
Oh wait. Are we playing that during the podcast? Oh, those watching the podcast will not get that reference.
Nope, you
Um,
gotta come to Twitch. You gotta come hang out with us
yeah.
on Twitch for those jokes.
So that was one of our friends that recorded that voice clip that you just heard. Um,
She
also, I
says it
mean,
a lot.
yeah, especially when she's not even here. She says it
Yep.
more when she's not here than when she's here. Actually,
Yep.
it's kind of funny that. Okay, so social structure for uh, humpback humpback dolphin. I almost said humpback whales. So they are typically found in groups of 1 to 3. And WDC, we getting quite a lot of the information from this from the WDC page. Um, they describe them as fusion fission relationships, where they will socialize intensely for a period of time before branching off to see other individuals. So, like BFFs, but like sometimes they just want a different BFF, you know?
Mhm. Well, you gotta cycle through them.
Yeah,
You don't wanna wear anyone out.
exactly. So, a mother and calf will stay together for around 4 years.
Okay.
You know what's funny? Um, in the script here, I don't actually have anything down for interesting information, which we've kind of just already covered the interesting information and just going through this. Uh,
Mhm.
they do face race. They do face some threats, though. Some of the biggest threats facing them, the Australian humpback dolphins, are to do with poor water quality involving pollution. Their habitat is very coastal based, and they're susceptible to fishing bycatch, specifically by pair trawlers.
So pretty much
Geofits,
the usual threats.
can you explain what pair trawlers are?
I'm not specifically sure on pair trawlers specifically. But trawlers are boats that drag nets behind them. Um, I know in some places there are some like devices that they use that are like catch separators that allow dolphins and whales to get out, as well as sea turtles. And so in some jurisdictions that's mandated, but I guess a pair is two two
Yeah,
nets.
I'd imagine it's two boats, but dragging a net between them.
Could be,
That's
yeah.
what I would think it is. So
Yeah, it could. Yeah, you're right. It could be. Oh, well, yeah. It's two boats pulling one trawl.
so I so speaking of WDC, uh actually we're going to talk about them a little bit after. On what they got up to in October. But just quickly before we're gonna play Orca Watch in a second. So that's basically our break because it's pre-recorded. Uh, but before we do, I'm just gonna say that, uh, and this is not the podcast that's doing this. This is me. This is me. Like me, Cravone. So I actually have a calendar on my fourth wall page. It's a 2026 Orca calendar that has all my own original photos. Uh, and I'm going to leave a link in the Twitch, and I'm going to leave a link in the YouTube. Um, it's got some great photos. I'm not the best photographer, but I was really happy with how this turned out. I've got it on my wall in front of me. For everyone that is purchased, I will be donating £5 to WDC for everyone that's purchased. So yeah, are you ready for the break?
Yes, I am definitely ready.
Okay, so we're gonna get into Orca Watch now. I'm gonna say this is the start of Orca Watch, but yeah. So Orca Watch after this month, uh, Orca Watch will still happen on Twitch, still happen on Spotify, but on YouTube it will be split into its own video, not be part of the podcast, but most likely will release on the same day as the podcast. I will have a little bit extra to add on to Orca Watch after this, so enjoy. Hello and welcome to Orca Watch for November. Now, I'm pre-recording this whilst I'm a little bit unwell, thus you get funny looking talky GIF thing on screen, which you probably got through the podcast anyway. So before I start on Orca Watch for this month, I'm going to say that this is the last time that Orca Watch will be appearing within the actual main podcast on YouTube. It will continue appearing in the Spotify recording, and it will continue appearing on Twitch as our break. But on YouTube, I have decided to split it into its own video. So YouTube, from now on, you'll be getting the podcast without Orca Watch, but also Orca Watch will be recorded and will be released on YouTube all the same. Just you'll have to watch two videos to see both of them. The reason for this is outreach. Right? If you're on podcast, you're here to listen to the podcast and everything the podcast got. This is just an attempt to like attract new listeners that might not be very interested to orcas. They don't have to watch it, and those that are really into orcas, well, I mean, you've got an easier way to find it now. So we're going to start off Orca Watch with our Orca of the Month for December. So, our Orca of the Month for December is none other than T99B Holly. Now, I didn't put this one up to a vote because I just wanted to decide this one myself. Aside from the fact that holly is the name of a plant that's usually associated with Christmas, Holly is the mascot for the stream, for the podcast. She's my favorite Salish sea whale. And I had the pleasure of seeing her and even making eye contact with her and her grandmother, T36 Flapjack, last summer. In fact, you can even see on screen that moment. At the time, Holly for me was just that one whale, leaving that in, that one whale I can tell apart from the rest, due to her having a very iconic dorsal fin that makes her immediately recognizable. She's got like 3 notches on her dorsal fin. And actually, you can get a good look at her dorsal fin now that I've taken myself off the screen. Because that is her. She is in the background of our podcast banner. So you see it's not 3 notches, it's like 2.5. It's like 2 notches. One's big and then there's one like immediately under. But she was about to become a whole lot more than that for me. Once I started tracking sightings. And looking out for where the families had been seen and knowing who her families are. And in other words, my favorites are the orcas I saw firsthand. Now, little did I know that when I saw her, she was actually 13 or 14 months pregnant at the time. And while everyone was distracted with L90 Balena and L128 in September and October of 2024, some people, fine, just me, missed that T99B actually had a calf around October. So she was not seen again after that until spring and the new year. But she was not seen with her family, and her family had been seen on multiple occasions without her. And she no longer had her calf. Unfortunately, it's presumed that her calf did not make it. Since her calf, she has been kind of making the rounds, pod hopping every few months, staying with a different auntie or even her cousin. Holly is the granddaughter of what I dub the super grandma, T36 Flapjack, who was an Orca of the Month earlier on in the year for us as well. Flapjack has 4 suspected known daughters, T36A, T36B, T99, and T137. So T36A and T36B are confirmed. T99 and T137 are strongly suspected. So in addition to each of these daughters having a family unit called a matriline, of which T36 Flapjack is always found traveling with one of her daughters, there was also another matriline in this family group called the T36A1s. And T36A1 has formed her own matriline now that she has her own calf. T99 Holly has been seen among all of her extended family pods at one time or another this year. So that's with the T36As, T36Bs, T137s, I believe with the T99s at some point, and with the T36A1s. Now, I could talk for days about the weird dynamics with the T137s and the fact that T137A Jack has actually become my mum's favorite orca, funny enough. But T99B is the one that mostly fascinates me because of the pod hopping and what might be causing it. And it interests me so much so that I have decided that next year I'm going to be starting to do my own mini citizen science project on T99 and the whole T36 clans. That's T36 and all of those 5 match lines: T36A, T36B, T99, T137, and T36A1s. I will be looking at sightings and associations between individuals. I'll be recording which individuals are present when, just to see if I spot anything unusual. It'll be a good exercise for me, because I've been kind of out of scientific study for quite a while. The last sighting of T99B Holly, as of recording this part on the 8th of December, is on the 19th of November in the Sailor Sea. Now, on to our adopted orca with the Whale Museum. T9. Wow. I'm making so many mess ups. L90 Balena. I'm leaving all of these in, by the way. L90 Balena. So the latest update was that she was last seen on the 11th of November, along with all of the southern residents. So there was an interesting day, an interesting period of days for the southern residents. On the 9th of November, J-Pod were Puget Sound. Also on the 9th of November, K and L-Pod were in the Sailor Sea, but not in the same part. And on the 10th and 11th, they actually formed a superpod, which is when every single whale of the southern residents were there. So that's all 74 orcas together. And so they formed a superpod for about 2 days. And this is heavily documented by so many places: Orca Network, Orca Conservancy, Center for Whale Research, Orca Behavior Institute. All were on site. The most recent sighting of southern residents was on the 22nd of November, and that was J-Pod, all on their own. Now on to big orcas. So we've already talked about T99B, so she was last seen on the 19th of November. The T36 Bs, as well as T36 herself, and the T137s were spotted together on the 23rd of November. This is definitely when big sightings start going down. Because we didn't see the T65Bs, we didn't see the T99s, we didn't see the T60 brothers, which are all orcas that I'm tracking. If you want me to follow a particular family, let me know. Drop it in the comments, and I'll have a look for you. The other one I was tracking was also the T75Bs. But they were spotted, but unfortunately, the brand new calf T75B5 was not spotted. So that quite often means the worst. In terms of northern residents, there were actually 2 northern resident sightings in the Sailor Sea. So that was unexpected. There was actually one that was like really, really low down, almost to Vancouver. But for northern residents, we're not going to be tracking them that much during the off season. We will track them a lot more when it's northern resident season, which starts around July and lasts until like the end of September-ish. So yeah, that is it for Orca Watch. Can I say it? Back to the studio. So yeah, I said it, and also like really said it. I said it twice. I need to unmute Geofits. So
Oh, there we go.
just to add a little bit extra onto Orca Watch. So we are recording this. And you're not going to like this, Gio, but I'm going to say we are recording this currently. Current time, local time for me, is the 12th of December. For Gio, it's still the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
So I pre-recorded that on the 8th. On the 9th, a brand new southern resident calf was seen from K-Pod. And so the mother is speculated. The funny thing, I can't actually remember her designation. The funny thing is, you know how we're Trekkies. The mother of this
Mm-hmm.
calf is actually called Spock.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Well, suspected mother of this calf. Now, this calf is days old. So we should get our hopes up, but be prepared for those to be shattered because the mortality rate is extremely high. Now, from what I've seen of the video and photos that are available right now, I believe this is a female. Some other people say it's a male. And on the 9th, it was actually seen still with the umbilical cord attached.
That's a pretty young calf.
Yep. So that's like days. So to explain the process that goes on for this calf to be recognized as part of the southern resident population, it's the Center for Wild Research that does the census of the southern residents. So that they are basically the ones that decide to validate, is this, like, they designate the number, like this will most likely be K47. There's a weird naming convention with K46. Long story short, K46 used to be L46 at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But so the Center for Wild Research, either they'll probably go out and find this calf themselves. They require 3 separate sightings to be able to determine who the likely mother of this calf is. So that's still an ongoing process at the moment. Okay, so I think we're going on to our charity spotlight. Now, this is something cool to talk about, especially mentioning the calendar earlier. So actually, the calendar was parts of the calendar were actually 2 incentives for World Ocean Day and Orcatober for WDC, Whale and Dolphin Conservation. So, as you guys might know from previous podcasts, we were raising money during October for Whale and Dolphin Conservation, and the goal of this was against captivity of whales and dolphins. And so WDC, with our help, has raised all the funding that they need to fund their entire anti-captivity program for the entirety of next year. So crazy job. Thank you to everyone that donated and collaborated and helped out with that. The total raised by WDC during the October season, and this was not just content creators, but also through Humble Bundle sales. They raised £175,000 total. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a very good amount. A lot of people that came together and supported the cause.
I was blown away by how many people supported it. How many messages I got whilst I was streaming during that month of like this cause is a good cause. It's important to me. It's like and others were like I thought someone was making a donation because like out of like a kindness because I was passionate about it and they actually made a very sizable donation. And but they told me like after it's like they completely think that whales and dolphins, given how intelligent they are, should not be in captivity. Like you get it, you absolutely get it. So I also want to shine a spotlight on another charity actually this month, which we are supporting on the channel during this month, is Orca Behavior Institute. Now, what I'm going to highlight is actually what they've been up to in November because it was kind of really fun to keep up to date with like what they're up to. So, Orca Behavior Institute and the Center for Whale Research were collaborating through the month of November on a combined acoustic and visual survey. So they were doing acoustics, boat based visuals, and drone based visuals. And they were sharing some of that footage on the YouTube channel and on social media. And it's some crazy good footage. So the money we raised this month for OBI, now I would say it goes towards repairing of a hydrophone that would be available on Orca Sound, but that is actually already repaired. So it also goes towards the maintenance of that. It also goes towards funding scholarships for some of their courses, and also funding their sightings tracking data. So that's what we're going to be doing this month. Gio, are you ready to learn about some
Yeah,
whale words?
yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so how much do you know about whale anatomy?
Not a lot.
Always a dangerous question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to explain some whale words. So we do use some of this terminology on the stream, and I thought it's a good idea to actually just make a little bit of a glossary here to educate people on what words mean what, and you might actually learn some of this stuff as well, Gio.
Probably will.
So I actually have images here. Now this image was taken from Wikimedia um, under Creative Commons attribution. And so this I'm going to be using demonstratively, not so much for the internal anatomy, but also like the external. So the first one I'm going to mention is the melon. Gio, what does the melon do?
The melon is the part of the echolocation system.
You didn't know I was gonna be putting you to the test.
Mm. Nope.
Okay, so So yes, you're partially correct. It is used for echolocation. So the melon is used to focus sound into a particular direction, and it's very it's very adept at doing echolocation for this, because then the echolocation then bounces back into the lower jaw of the cetacean. Um, but the melon is also used for calls as well, all kind of acoustics. So you were right on echolocation. It's just that it's used for a little bit more than echolocation. So I don't know if you can see my cursor on screen, which actually it kind of sucks if you can't. I don't think you can.
Nope, cannot see it.
Okay, no, that's a problem. Okay, so what is this fin at the top?
It'd be the dorsal fin.
Okay, so this is explaining to those that don't know what this terminology is. Right, the tail fins.
The flukes.
Okay, and then the bottom fin that you can see here.
Pectoral fins.
So pectoral fins. Some people call them flippers as well.
Yeah,
Um,
colloquially.
yeah. So one other term that I'm going to refer to is actually um, a point halfway between the dorsal fin and the flukes, and this is basically the point where when they dive that's the point that's going to be curved. Um, I believe. Let me just get the word right. I think that's called the peduncle. I actually need to make sure that that's actually what it's called. No, it might not be. It might be actually. Well, I'm meant to be educating people. I'm like, hang on, am I wrong about that? Okay, so now I'm gonna get onto some orca-based external anatomy. So I've got this image here. I just wanted to point out. Okay, so I didn't even mention the blowhole, but I think that's very obvious. So for orca anatomy, just wanted to point out this gray section just underneath the dorsal fin. Now that's quite often referred to as the saddle patch. Okay. Now we're going to go through some words. Okay, so breaching. You know what breaching is?
That is clearing the surface of the water.
Yeah, so that's clearing the surface of water, and usually they'll come down with a big splash. What about porpoising?
Oh, that's when you're bouncing up and down when you land your airplane and you don't have it at the right attitude, so you bounce back and forth from your front and your back wheels.
Um, um,
I'm technically
I
correct.
mean, you're not wrong.
How about you give me the real answer?
How about I put a marker? Oh my gosh. Look, you made me cough now. So
Yes.
porpoising is pictured like a super pod of dolphins, and they're going somewhere. Like they come out the water, they clear the water, but they're going in an arch. They clear the water, jump out, jump out, like basically taking a breath. But
Mm.
they clear that water because it actually makes them go a little bit quicker. So porpoising is the act of they swim fast and clear the water just slightly, like to breathe. They don't do it. They don't like surface and breathe slowly. They're doing it quickly. Spy hopping. You know what spy hopping is.
Yeah, I think that's something from that game Mafia.
I Are you gonna do this with everything?
Only the ones I don't know.
I mean, look. I mean, I'm just gonna highlight on the
Eh,
script. You're gonna freaking know what this. Did I almost
I
just?
hope.
Did I almost just drop something that was about to bleep out?
Mhm.
I almost. Oh my! I almost did. Imagine
Imagine.
we have only used the bleep machine once in the history of the podcast so far.
That's pretty impressive, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, and it was actually during an outtake as well because we didn't even leave that in the main podcast.
Oh. hmm
And it
All
wasn't
right, spy
even
hopping.
about cetacean profanity either.
Oh yeah, no, it was lionfishes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, yeah. Okay, so spy hopping is when they raise their head out of the water only, like vertically.
Oh, so just taking a look.
Yeah. But take a look. Um I would ask this next one, but I've kind of spoiled it by the first word. What's lobtailing?
Oh, it's when they slap their tail on the water.
Also known as tail slapping.
hmm
So this is actually used some. So I should mention spy hopping is used like as a visual indicator as well. Um,
hmm
but tail slapping or lobtailing, somewhat like breaching, is a percussive behavior, and it's acoustic as well. It's like you hear a big slap on the wall that makes a noise. So this could also be communication in a way. What's logging? Oh gosh.
This I
Oh
have no
dear.
clue. So my best guess is when a whale is just kind of floating along and just kind of rolling over and just making sure he's not getting, a sunburn on one side or the other.
I, I thought for 1 second there I was going to have to award you a golden star. I thought you were going to start by saying this is when a whale grabs a big axe and starts chopping wood. But you actually got it right until you started talking about the sunburn.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it had to be a little funny.
logging is when whales will just stay stationary on the surface of the water. They won't be going up and down. They won't be moving around, and typically this is when they're sleeping.
hmm
So, actually, do you know how whales sleep?
Can't say that I do.
Okay, so whales sleep by turning half of their brain off at a time, and then turning the other half off. And
Interesting. So they're always aware of their surroundings.
yeah, because whales and dolphins are conscious breathers. They actually have to be awake to be able to breathe,
Oh, I
since they
didn't know
have to
that.
go to the surface. And typically, I don't know about other cetaceans, but typically an orca won't properly sleep. It'll just have a nap.
hmm
And so logging is usually around like 20 to 30 minutes. They'll just have like a 20 to 30 minute nap, just just randomly.
Hmm. Just
Uh,
vibe out.
yeah. What about milling? Now,
Milling, I actually know, and
you
that's where they're
actually
just
know, but I
milling. I
had to
actually
look
know.
this up.
Well, milling is when they're just kind of like milling about, but it's they're just kind of not really going anywhere with any purpose, but not stationary, just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, they're just like moving aimlessly. I mean, if you have a drone up, you might be able to see that they're not actually milling, but they're just playing under the water. That could
Hmm.
happen. Uh, so traveling, I should explain because it's not as clear as before. So traveling is an action of like they are basically traveling from like an A to B. Typically, they'll be swimming rather swiftly when they're traveling.
And porpoises might be porpoising.
They might be porpoising and traveling at the same time. Yeah. Okay, what about surface active and surface behavior?
I'm gonna go with that they're active on the surface and the behaviors that they do on the surface.
So, wow. Okay, so yeah, yeah, basically that. So surface act like if they're breaching their surface active. Breaching is a surface behavior. Spy hopping
Mhm.
is a surface behavior. Lobtailing is a surface behavior. Um, logging and milling are not. So, like, surface active is when they're doing stuff that isn't them coming out of the water to breathe, basically. And anything that kind of makes a bit of a like splash or anything that wows the crowds, really, like on these
Mhm.
boats. All of that is surface behavior.
Do you include dolphins riding in the wake of the boat?
Oh, I mean that's a word that I can include in a second. But would I consider that surface active? I don't think I would.
Hmm, interesting.
So actually, do you want to explain bow riding?
Yeah, so I mean, dolphins seem to just have fun doing it. Um, I would say at least half of the fishing trips I've been on, either when we've been heading out or coming back in, there will at some point there will be a dolphin or two that will come up and we'll ride and they'll just kind of sidle up alongside. Sometimes they'll go off the back of the boat as well. They'll ride the wake off the back, but sometimes they'll come up and they'll be right in the bow wake. And so if you can go up on the bow and stand and look down on them, they're right there, and it's really cool. It's a lot of fun, and they seem to have fun doing it.
I
Plus, it's also kind of like it's kind of like drafting and racing, right? So they are getting a little bit of a speed boost from riding the wake too.
I have something pretty fascinating to drop on you regarding bow riding.
Hmm.
Did you know that dolphins actually bow ride whales?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Because a whale, like a blue whale, is basically like a really big boat.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think anywhere where we've seen like behaviors around boats by any kind of sea life, you could reasonably expect to see that around a big whale, like remoras, cobia, which are another fish that they like to trail around underneath. Though they're a lot bigger, but they like to trail in the shadows of bigger creatures. So a lot of times, you like if you're going to catch a cobia, most of the time it's literally going to be right off the back of your boat.
I remember being in Italy and So we would have like dolphins bow riding all the time, right? There
Hmm.
was one time where we didn't have dolphins. Like we had dolphins earlier in the day, but I looked overboard and found that we had something else bow riding that I
Hmm.
did not expect to be something that enjoyed bow riding.
Uh-huh.
Tuna.
Huh.
We actually had tuna bow riding.
I've never
It,
seen that
it
before,
was
but that
it was
is
so cool.
well, it makes sense since they need to always be in motion. They're using so much energy. I mean, like there's, tuna eat so much fish and squid because they're
Yeah,
always on the go. They don't sleep.
it's really cool. Like these are not like the big tuna. There's small species of tuna,
Hmm.
but it was so cool to see that. 'Cause I
And a
never
lot of
thought that
those,
was a thing.
yeah, a lot of those small species of tuna are really, really good eating too.
I I've had the grilled tuna in the Seychelles, but I think that was from a large fish.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the most common tuna that I see at least around here for like tuna steaks is going to be yellowfin tuna, and they get to be pretty big. Like, um, um, I have to translate from pounds to kilograms for you, but they get up to be around 40 pound, or like a 40 to 60 pound one is pretty good size. So that's like 18 to 27 kilos.
Yeah, I
And then there's
I saw
There's
so
also
much.
some Pacific ones too, but yeah.
Saw so much stuff in Italy.
Hmm.
Definitely way more like marine biodiversity than you immediately realize in the Mediterranean. Because um, I mean, we saw more in other terms sunfish at the surface of the water. First and like only times I've ever seen a sunfish, just period. But it was like so cool. Um, so there were sunfish. There were also uh, turtles as well. There were loggerhead turtles. The loggerhead turtles I'd seen in aquariums, and I never enjoyed seeing them in aquariums, but seeing them in the wild was great. That was great. I love seeing them in the wild. And then of course we had tuna, bow riding. We had striped dolphins as well. What we have got that wrong actually. Striped dolphins. We saw a sperm whale, which actually is in. Actually, the dolphins and the sperm whale are both in the intro to the podcast, and then we also saw tons and tons of jellyfish that would we could see from the boat, and we could see down, and we had this big chart in the boat with like all of these types of jellyfish and like which ones were venomous and dangerous and what have you. So that was a fascinating trip. I it for me it was like second only to going to the San Juan Islands, and because the San Juan Islands also had some crazy biodiversity as well. I mean, not only like did I see big orcas, not only did I see minke whale, probably the same minke whale on two different days, um, but also um, I saw bald eagles. I saw uh, seals, harbor seals. Saw California sea lions. Har- I think I mentioned harbor harbor porpoises were everywhere, absolutely everywhere. It was fantastic, and then all the seabirds. love going to places with such high biodiversity like that. But then
Hmm.
I think my favorite thing about the bigs were just like all the different families as well. Okay, are you good for drones now?
I just need to take a quick bio break.
I, I was stalling for time.
Sorry.
I thought you had left. That's why I was.
No,
Oh,
no, I was waiting for you to get to a break point. Sorry.
okay. Hang on. Okay,
All
I'll
right, I'll be
mark
right
it.
back.
Okay, so well, we'll edit that out. Also, that's a bit of a clip. I'm gonna be honest. Um. Okay, so we'll just sit and wait. We'll just sit and wait for Geo. No, just lean back. Oh, look, we've got ads as well. Go on now, break. If you're on YouTube watching this, first of all, welcome to the outtakes. Welcome to the short. Thank you for watching the short. This is content you won't see in the actual podcast. Also on Twitch, we've currently got an ad, so I feel it's necessary to bombard you guys on YouTube with an ad as well. Buy my calendar. Link will be in the description. Every calendar sold, £5 will go towards WTC. You want to order it now because like it will arrive like late if you don't order it now. And you definitely want to have it slightly before January because there's an image on like the main like the intro like page. And then obviously it's like there's 13 images basically. The 13th image is for oh, okay. Cheers back.
I I didn't want to interrupt your short.
It's okay. Sure, it's done. And
Mhm.
okay. So we have one last thing to talk about in this podcast. Now, okay, so I should preface this by saying I'm still a little bit ill and I may cough, so I may be muting. And now, why am I saying that again? Is because while this is part of the podcast, this will also be a standalone video. Also, I've forgotten. Actually, no, I've forgotten how YouTube works. I need to introduce this with the correct words. Um,
Mhm.
Drone usage in cetacean research. How does it work?
How
And
indeed.
what's it good for? And how's it? Okay, so we're going to be talking about how drones are changing cetacean research, massively changing it as well. It's there's so many applications of this. So I want to initially say like the idea behind this topic was actually the Orca Behavior Institute and Center for Wild Research combined efforts to pair uh, visual, acoustic, and drone footage all together to get a picture of whether to see if they can match actions with vocalizations. So this is a good chance to have a discussion. Uh, so what? Okay, let's talk about what can drones be useful for in cetacean research. So I've kind of written this script completely out of order. So what can we use them for? So first of all, probably the most important thing is visual data because when you're on a boat and you're surveying cetaceans, you see the water surface up to the horizon. That's all you see. You've got a very y-axis view of things.
Yeah, and every whale is also creating a blind spot behind it.
Exactly, exactly. That's another thing. But it's like you'll see what they do at the surface, but you will not see what they do below the surface. And quite often they'll do a lot of their interacting and social interactions below the surface, and they'll come up and they'll take a breath, like all together, if it's orcas, and it's like they just look like they're doing normal stuff. When in actual fact, they might be doing stuff under the water that you don't know about. So basically, when you're looking at whales and dolphins from a boat, you have one axis of like viewing space. You have a second when you've got a drone, because like your limit as an observer is that you can't see any kind of depth. For a drone, your limit is you only get like a cross section of the ocean. So pairing visual and drone um, observations is the best thing, because a drone can see several meters under the water, typically from high up, especially if it's like orcas or something that has striking coloration. And this massively increases like your area of study. So go ahead.
Well, one of the things that just immediately popped to mind too is that the drone is going to be more mobile than you are on the boat as well. So like we
Yeah, it can
know
move
we
quicker.
yeah, but also like we've talked about like the restrictions, like of approaching or on approaching whales, and if you like if they decide to turn and swim straight away from you, well, you can't follow them, but a drone certainly could,
So
at least for a certain distance.
the way I understand, there are actually restrictions for drones
Hmm.
on, like, there's like a minimum distance that you have to be flying above the water.
Yeah.
Um, I think research permits actually allow you to fly lower. Um,
Hmm.
but this is actually something I had on the script as well, is that it disrupts the animals less.
Yeah.
That being said, one of the studies I saw on this was actually, it was a study on drone usage in of itself with regards to orcas. And one of the metrics that they measured is how often an orca turned to look at the drone.
Hmm.
And it was not that high. It was noticeable, but it was not that high.
Hmm.
But even still, it's not really disrupting them, because while it's making
Probably.
noise above the water, it's not really making noise under the water like a boat would.
Well, and I mean, as like I start to think, how much of a difference is there between a drone and a seagull that's flying around up there and screaming, which the orca, and that might be, now you might consider this disruptive because that could be what the orca is doing is, oh, I see bird, that means there's fish over that way. So that's where my thinking goes on that behavior.
I I would say that one bird doesn't mean that there's fish in the water. Multiple birds does,
Yeah, that's fair.
and you're not really gonna have more than one drone.
But I mean, I figure it's the orcas looking at it is, you know, probably the same, behavior driven by, seeing birds flying. Like, oh, I'm gonna look over there. Oh, okay, it's just one bird. I'm gonna keep going. Or yeah.
Now, what could actually disrupt the animals more is how this is sometimes used. Um, so there are a certain group of scientists that like to be hands off researching. They don't want to be invasive or disruptive towards towards the animals that they're studying. They don't want to influence their behavior, but also they don't want to inconvenience them. And um, like on this topic, I enjoy being firmly on the fence of like sometimes sometimes tagging can be useful. Sometimes tagging is unnecessary though. So
Hmm.
I'm like I don't really have a strong opinion either way.
Hmm.
But for those that do tag, especially with things like cameras, um, drones are perfect for like dropping like a tag that's got like a suction cup or something onto like the animal.
Yeah, and especially a big whale where, like, that you have a big aiming point.
Yeah, it's much better, much better to drop a tag from a drone than by using a crossbow, which
Hmm.
some scientists use that to get tags.
Yeah, and I know so locally here um Sarasota Dolphin. Why am I'm blanking on their full name? But they've been pioneering, along with some other institutions, a new tagging tool um, that they've been testing on the like offshore dolphins here in the Gulf of Mexico. So I think a lot of the scientists that are
Mm.
doing those kind of things are continuing to research and engineer and look for less invasive ways to of doing these things.
Oh, I'm gonna like straight up put you on the spot for next month. Um, we actually have a story about offshore bottlenose dolphins and the split between offshore and inner shore. I might put you up to doing that using this
Alrighty,
tool.
sounds
Um,
good.
I'll send you the links after. Um, so another use is also like to assist like boat crews in like guiding them towards the correct place where the animals are.
Yeah, I mean reconnaissance. That's
Yeah,
certainly
definitely.
a big use case, and that's also and especially reconnaissance is also where you could get away with cheaper drones as well, because
Yeah.
you're not doing anything with it, so it can be smaller. It's doesn't need to have a high end camera because if you're just
Although
guiding.
I think if you're a scientist and you've got a drone up, you're gonna definitely want to be doing more than just reconnaissance with it.
Oh, yeah, you're going to want to, but my point is just if the budget isn't there for something that that has a better camera or that could do more,
Like
there's
tourism might be using it for scoping out an area,
yeah,
like
that's
while
fair.
watching.
Yeah.
So these can also be used in biopsy slash blow sample collection, which is why we mentioned about whale snot earlier. They can collect whale snot. But yeah, biopsy samples are so valuable in terms of like the research of these animals, understanding them. Um, honestly, like a biopsy could be the difference between discovering that a rice whale is a rice whale and not a bride's whale. That a biopsy sample could confirm that.
Hmm.
So this is super important. It also gives you an idea of the health of the individual as well. Um, but also back onto the visual side of things as well. Uh, do you think it would be pretty difficult from a boat when you've got these whales and dolphins that they only surface like they surface for to take a breath. Like, how do you know they've all surfaced? How do you count how many there are? If you can't photo ID them, how can you tell how many there are?
And yeah, an overhead picture would probably
Yeah,
be the best way.
it's
Yeah.
really, really useful. And in regards to that, I also mentioned potentially something that might be in the future is actually an aerial photo ID guide that is exclusively like usable by drones. This would be a really good thing for like for the Center for Whale Research to do, for example, to
Hmm.
have aerial photos of whales that they can definitely identify because they're using a drone in combination with their boat-based viewing. If they can get an aerial photo from a drone, they can actually start building an aerial photo ID guide. Um, it doesn't even have to be its own ID guide. You just lump that in with dorsal fins, and I mean, if you're doing eye patches as well, like you've already got eye patches, you've got dorsal fin saddle patches. Have like a top-down view. It'll make it much more easier for like photo IDing, especially with the saddle patches of orcas. But
Yeah, and I
im-
would imagine that there's some species that it would work better for than, and some it probably would, not be possible.
imagine the Irrawaddy dolphin. Imagine building a photo ID catalog from aerial shots of that.
Hmm.
Is for those that don't know, the Irrawaddy dolphin is asymmetrical in that it has its blowhole slightly to the left of the central line of the body. Um, Now, this is just my theory. My theory is that you might actually even be able to ID them based on the position of the blowhole. Now, I have no basis of proof for that, but it's like a hunch I have. But that's not something I could ever be like explored through like a boat-based observation. Not when you
Hmm.
can get like a top-down view with a drone.
Hmm. Yep.
And you also with the drone get an idea of like the physical body condition of these cetaceans as well. Like whether they're looking skinny, whether they're looking like big, which probably means they've got a calf on the way.
Hmm.
Um, Now there are some downsides um, to drone usage, but there's so many upsides. There's a few downsides, but there's so much research coming out lately that's using drones. So the downsides are the cost. Drones can be pretty expensive to get a good one. They are
Yeah.
weather and battery dependent, and they do require an experienced and crucially a qualified pilot. And there's some,
Especially if you're on a especially if you're on a research permit. I'm sure
yeah,
it's
they
even
they do
stricter
need
than
to have
just.
a research permit as well.
Mm. But my point there was that even, being on a research permit, they would probably have stricter, regulations and requirements for the pilots than just an everyday person.
Yeah, because if you've got a research permit, like the drone can get closer, but that also asks for more from the pilot. as well.
Hmm.
And laws regarding drones are getting stricter and stricter as well.
Yeah. Um, on the expensive to buy, and I will say that it is getting to the point of being much more affordable and possible, especially, for at least for, like even for smaller scale operations to be able to operate, because at this point, like, because I actually was recently looking at drones, and like you can get ones that are pretty good quality, do 4K, like 4K 60 video, for like $500 to $1,000 that, all have good, um, good reviews and everything, and reputations. So
Where
the price is
does
definitely coming down. Like it's becoming a mature technology, but getting into the really high end stuff is still like 3,000, 5,000, $10,000. But that's you're starting to get into people that are doing the stuff professionally.
where does the expense come from? Is it the camera, or is it like the range, or what is it?
It's probably a little of all of that because like you also have to consider like battery life and payload capacity.
Yeah,
So like
like if you've
like
got further range, you need more battery.
yeah, so like everything is, I think everything is just very much a give and take on, quality and size and everything else, right? So obviously, as you go more expensive, you're also getting bigger and bigger, because you're bringing more weight, you're bringing more battery, so have to have a higher takeoff weight. Um, so and like I don't think it's as much cameras anymore. At least when you're talking like the 4K. Now, if you're getting into the 8K or even higher resolutions than that, then I think that's when you're talking about those really expensive ones. But 4K 60, that falls in that 500 to 1,000, kind of price point range, and
I guess
that's
I guess with these cameras, you don't really need anything that can zoom. Because I mean, why would you need a zoom when you can just fly it lower?
yeah, and it all depends on what you're doing, obviously, as well. Because like, um, yeah, you have you do bring up a good point, about the zoom, and if you're going, I mean, if you're going up into the high enough dollar range, you're probably talking about a lot of digital zoom and available as well.
Yeah,
'Cause, I mean, I think at this point, with YouTube, I think you can still only upload 4K. I don't think you can upload 8K
I
yet.
think it's only 4K. Yeah, I think I remember looking that up recently as well.
Hmm. And even when you look at like shorts, they still only do shorts in HD.
Shorts are also like the aspect ratio. Oh, that's something I'm not so keen on. Is
I mean, it's the
it
same.
makes editing annoying.
Yeah, and it is the same aspect ratio. It's still 16:9. It's just vertical instead of horizontal.
It's vertical, yeah, but that means quite a bit of like difference with editing. Which to
Yeah,
be fair, I get it. I get why that's a thing.
because it's phone centric,
Yeah,
which I think is why it's also still only HD because it keeps down the data usage,
that
on
makes
your
so much
phone.
sense. Yeah,
And plus also like how fast people are going through probably just is probably all performance related. But yeah, I've been trying to do more with short stuff recently when and when I take my camera out to look for birds and stuff. But I've been trying to remember more to shoot vertical so that I don't have to fight with it in the edit.
yeah. So just quickly, whilst on the topic of drones, I'm just going to mention uh, very briefly about two studies that the Center for Wild Research has done that has been using drones. Um, so they did a study suggesting that age and gender influence social interactions, but not associations. So they're actually able to ID the orcas when they did this study, but the drone was able to tell like who was interacting with who. But the big thing they came out with, and we did cover this on the podcast, was allokelping, which is this is a form of skin grooming behavior that happens within the southern residents exclusively, to where the southern residents will actually fashion bull kelp. They will actually fashion this into a tool, and they'll go in pairs, and they'll just like rub it between the two of them. There is no way that this would ever have been seen from a boat. You might have seen it from like a higher vantage point if you're on the shore. Um, but this is definitely something that required drone footage to even notice, let alone like do a proper study. And this was Center for War Research's big research that they released this year, and this was using drones. Yeah, I'm gonna set a marker. Mark the end of that segment because that's going to be uploaded onto YouTube as on its own as well as with the podcast. When I said today was going to be like really short,
Didn't end up being short, did it?
it ended up being longer than any we've ever done. Although part of that was down to us covering drone. Well, actually, the educate me took forever. But yeah, us covering drones, like the drones, that could have been its own video. Although, stick in the podcast, stick at the end. It can still be its own video, but
Yep.
it could also be part of the podcast. That way, those on
Alrighty.
Twitch get more. So yeah, we're at that awkward point where I am very quickly going onto my keyboard and mouse to try and find a command that I must use here. There we are. I found it. Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. That is episode 6. Yes, episode 6 of the World Talk podcast. We do have something slowly in the works for the 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Hint, hint. I'm not even in the country. Like most of that month. I'm so excited for that though. Yeah, we'll reveal more closer to the time. Thank you so much to Geofits for joining me on the World Talk podcast this month again, as always.
Yeah, it was a great time, and looking forward to doing January's episode.
January is gonna. I'm scared of how long January could actually end up being. The stream will be long, but we won't have Orca Watch in the actual YouTube episode. Then okay, if we wanna really like, should we say the thing that we're doing in January that might take a while? We want to at least hint it.
No, I think everyone should tune in.
Yeah.
Come watch it live.
I will say that we will each have stuff that we bring to that podcast that the other does not know. I won't elaborate further than that. But this should be exciting. Command's podcast end. There we are. I don't know how much time is it. This isn't a 3-second warning, is it? In case it is, thank you for watching. Thank you to my co-host, Geofits, for hopefully you survive through the Florida heat until the next part. Oh wait, this is your 1 month that you don't have AC on.
Yeah, no, it's not running.
Okay. You put it back on in February, right?
Yeah, second half of February into March.
Wow. It's funny because like that's actually probably true.
It is.
Anyway, see you guys later.